I'm Eric Lanigan, an attorney in Winter Park. We've been in practice about 36 years, do a great deal of real estate litigation, and which involves foreclosure defense. And in that area of foreclosure, we're constantly being asked by our clients these days, why can't I get a loan modification? Part of the answer is that loan modifications are in and of themselves complete failures. In fact, nationwide, less than 5% of the people who apply for loan modifications get any kind of modification at all. And there are several reasons for that, but here's one that often applies to mortgages in commercial properties. And it's called loss share arrangements. And this is how it works. You often hear about a bank takeover, where the FDIC comes in and takes over a failed bank, and another bank immediately comes in and takes over the old bank. And I've always wondered, how did they do that so fast? And isn't that acquiring bank taking on a huge risk? And what we've come to find out is they're actually taking on no risk. In fact, they're virtually guaranteeing themselves a profit. And here's how it works. FDIC and the acquiring bank enter into what is commonly called a loss share agreement, and it might more appropriately be called a profit guarantee arrangement. And here's how it works. The FDIC essentially agrees to cover somewhere between 80 and 95% of the losses that the acquiring bank incurs. Let me give you an example. Let's say the acquiring bank acquires $1 million loan. That's what it's on the books, showing that there's $1 million due on the loan. They pay $300,000 for that loan. And they later find out that the property is only worth $100,000 and the loan goes into default. Well, the question then becomes, how much is that acquiring bank lost? Well, if you were in Sister Teresa's third grade arithmetic class with me, you would have come to a very simple conclusion. You would have said, well, they paid $300, they got $100 for the property, so they lost $200,000. But that's not what happens, because under the so-called loss share agreement, what FDIC has done is said, we're ensuring the difference between the book value of the loan and what you ultimately recover, or the value of the property. Well, the book value of the loan was $1 million. What the bank ultimately recovered on the property was $100,000. Well, then they say, FDIC says, you've lost $900,000, and we're going to pay you 80% of that. That's $720,000. So what the bank ends up with is $100,000 worth of property and $720,000 from the FDIC. That's not exactly loss sharing. That sounds to me like profit guaranteeing. So when the bank's dealing with you in an attempt to renegotiate your loan, the bank has a choice. Go through the negotiation loan modification process with you, or double their money with the FDIC. Well, guess what? You lose. However, there is a silver lining, and that is the exposure of the loss share agreement and its terms can be a real game changer in the foreclosure process. So if you have a loan, commercial or in fact residential, and the bank that originally lent you the money failed and was taken over by another bank, then you need to know whether or not that arrangement is covered under a loss share agreement. What are the terms of that loss share agreement? And how much money has the acquiring bank actually recovered or stand to recover on your loan?